What would you do when the battlefield sky suddenly darkens, not from stormy black clouds, but from tens of thousands of whistling arrows plunging straight toward your head? In the ancient world, relentless showers of arrows, or devastating flaming boulders launched from siege engines, were usually a death sentence for any infantry army. But the Roman Empire refused to accept such an easy demise. To survive, and to conquer, the Romans invented a defensive tactic that defied the rules of warfare at the time: the Testudo formation, Latin for the tortoise. Imagine a massive armored rectangle, steadily advancing across a blood-soaked battlefield, brushing away arrows like rain striking a tiled roof. Today, we will explore how the Romans transformed human flesh and bone into a living tank, sowing utter despair into the hearts of their enemies. To truly understand the invincibility of the Testudo formation, we must analyze its flawless mechanical structure. The beating heart of this tactical masterpiece was the legendary scutum, a massive rectangular shield made of wood, bound with leather, reinforced with iron, and weighing nearly 10 kilograms. The moment a commander roared the order, "Testudo!" chaos instantly transformed into absolute order. The first rank of soldiers dropped to one knee, planting the bottom edges of their shields into the ground, creating an impenetrable wall against frontal attacks. The soldiers in the middle ranks raised their shields high above their heads, interlocking them like the overlapping scales of a tortoise shell. Meanwhile, the men positioned on the flanks and rear turned their shields outward, sealing every possible angle of attack. The curved design of the scutum created a highly resilient, load-bearing dome. Falling boulders, arrows, and javelins simply slid away across the surface, dispersing their destructive force almost completely. But the greatness of the Testudo lay in far more than wood, leather, and iron rims. The true weapon that kept this living fortress from collapsing was the absolute trust and iron discipline of the Roman army. Imagine yourself standing in the dead center of the formation. It was pitch black, crushed tightly between sweating bodies and heavy metal. The legionaries inside were completely blind to the battlefield around them, stripped of all spatial awareness, moving only according to the rhythmic commands of their officers. It demanded extraordinary courage to hold a massive shield above your head, while countless enemy weapons crashed down like thunder just inches away. If even one soldier panicked, if a single moment of hesitation caused one shield to drop, the entire structure exposed a fatal weakness. Enemies would immediately exploit the opening, and an entire century of 100 men could be slaughtered within seconds. But the Roman legionary never backed down. The tortoise formation was not merely a theoretical doctrine hidden inside military scrolls. It was forged and tested in one of the most brutal conflicts in Roman history: General Mark Antony's Parthian campaign in 36 BC. As the massive Roman army retreated across a barren and scorching desert, they found themselves completely surrounded by tens of thousands of elite Parthian horse archers. The Parthians were legendary for their unmatched riding skills and terrifying accuracy with the bow. Facing an endless storm of poisoned arrows, the Roman legionaries immediately locked themselves into the Testudo formation. That wall of shields saved their lives. The historian Plutarch recorded that the Parthian forces watched in helpless frustration as wave after wave of arrows shattered harmlessly against the Roman shell. The Testudo transformed what should have been a catastrophic massacre into a disciplined and highly tactical withdrawal. Make no mistake, the Testudo was not just a passive, defensive survival tactic. Rome's brilliant military minds turned the tortoise into a devastatingly effective siege engine. When besieging heavily fortified cities like Jerusalem or formidable Gallic strongholds, Roman infantry had to endure torrents of boiling oil, massive boulders, and javelins hurled directly from towering ramparts. Instead of breaking in panic, hundreds of legionaries formed the Testudo, slowly and relentlessly marching right up to the base of the city gates. Protected safely beneath this sturdy dome of shields, Roman combat engineers could freely use sledgehammers to smash wooden doors, dig tunnels through stone foundations, or set fire to the walls, all while the enemies above remained completely powerless to stop them. The Testudo was effectively a prehistoric armored personnel carrier, systematically flattening any obstacle that dared to stand in the way of the empire. However, the truth is that no military tactic in the world is truly invincible. Despite possessing astonishing defensive capabilities, the Testudo formation harbored its own deadly Achilles heels. Its greatest weakness was its lack of speed. Once locked into the tortoise shell, the mobility of the Roman soldiers plummeted to a miserable crawl. They could only march at a slow, plodding pace, turning themselves into a massive, stationary target for heavy artillery. Furthermore, the Testudo strictly required perfectly flat terrain to function. If forced to traverse rugged hillsides, rocky ground, or deep trenches, the shields could no longer interlock seamlessly, creating fatal gaps in the armor. Their enemies also grew wiser over time. They began deploying heavy ballistae capable of piercing through multiple layers of shields, or pouring down molten lead to deform the structure, violently forcing the Romans to break formation. Although the Roman Empire collapsed thousands of years ago, the monumental shadow of the Testudo formation has never truly vanished from the currents of history. Its legacy directly inspired the evolution of Western warfare. During the Middle Ages, fierce Viking warriors and Anglo-Saxon armies utilized the shield wall tactic, employing an identical philosophy of collective defense. Even today, in the 21st century, if you observe modern riot police forces deployed across the globe, you will witness officers standing shoulder to shoulder, raising transparent ballistic shields above their heads to deflect rains of rocks and projectiles from aggressive crowds. That is the very soul of the ancient Roman tortoise formation, reborn and reimagined on modern streets. The profound philosophy of forging an unbreakable shield wall based entirely on human cohesion has survived and thrived, transcending the barriers of time. As we conclude our historical journey exploring the Testudo formation, we uncover a profound, timeless lesson. The Roman Empire did not rise to global supremacy simply because they had the biggest, strongest soldiers, nor because their weapons were the sharpest. They triumphed through brilliant engineering ingenuity and the absolute, unwavering discipline of their ranks. The tortoise formation stands as the ultimate symbol of individuals willingly sacrificing their egos, merging into a unified collective to forge an unparalleled, unstoppable force. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon on a battlefield is not the one that inflicts the most damage, but the one that ensures your survival through the most devastating storms. If you are passionate about historical mysteries and elite military tactics, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. See you in our next fascinating historical documentaries.